Hi, I'm Sam Hermit with the Texas Water Development Board, and I work in the Office of Water Science and Conservation. And I'm here this morning to interview Dr. Nelun Fernando of our Water Availability Program. Taking a look back at September, what were some of the big water and weather headlines for the month?
I would say the fact that reservoir conservation storage was about 15 percentage points below what it is typically at this time of year. Being the water agency for Texas, that gives us cause for concern. And drought had its stranglehold still on the state, with about 12% of the state in the worst drought category of exceptional drought. And that has been mainly in central Texas, but portions of East Texas as well, and Southeast Texas along the coast as well.
All right, thank you, Nelun. So we've had a hot and dry summer. Our reservoir storage is a little bit low, but we've also heard that we're now in an El Niño pattern. Are we in an El Niño, and how can we tell?
Great questions. So for Texas, we would know if we're in an El Niño pattern if we see a cooler than average winter and a wetter than average winter. But we are not yet in winter, right? So there are some data points that we look at to know if we are in an El Niño or not. The first is the advisories from the Climate Prediction Center of the National Weather Service. So according to the Climate Prediction Center, we are currently in an El Niño advisory state. That means that the sea surface temperatures in the eastern equatorial Pacific region has reached above 0.5 degrees Celsius in terms of its departure from the long-term average. So anytime we talk about El Niño or La Niña, we look at how above or below the temperatures in this particular region are compared to the historical average. And the historical average is over a 30-year time period. So if in a given month the temperatures in that region of the globe, the global ocean, is above 0.5, then it has reached El Niño conditions. And if there is in the forecast the likelihood that the 3-month running average of sea surface temperature anomalies or departures from long term are also projected to be at 0.5 or greater than 0.5 Celsius. That's another indicator. So far the forecasts are showing us that it is very likely it's going to continue to be those consecutive 3-month periods. And if we reach 5 consecutive 3-month periods, then we are officially in what's known as a warm episode or a El Niño episode. So currently it's 3 consecutive 3-month periods that we've seen the threshold be exceeded. So we are in El Niño conditions, and the atmosphere, the convection and rainfall patterns that are associated with El Niño are also showing up as in place. So it's very the forecasts are showing us that it's very likely it's going to persist in that form through to the spring, and the likelihood of it persisting through to the spring is pretty high. It's at like 95% probability.
Well, I think we would take 95% probability. In particular, can you also describe what El Niño conditions are like for Texas? Will being in an El Niño help us shift out of the hotter and drier period that we've experienced this summer?
If we are in a full-fledged El Niño episode, we have typically seen cooler weather and wetter weather. But we need to remember that no El Niño event is alike. So even though typically those are the conditions we'd expect, it's not always a given that that's going to happen. If it is going to be what we typically expect, then we might see more rainfall and cooler temperatures, and any rainfall would be very welcome at this point in time. But we would definitely need many inches of rainfall, and maybe I would say over 10 inches of rainfall, or up to maybe 20 inches, especially in the central Texas region, if we are to come out of this accumulated deficit that we are seeing in our reservoirs.
Right, right. So we've got a long ways to go, but also a little bit of cause for hope and optimism. But like you said, you can't really predict the weather. No two El Nino events are alike, so
Right.
we'll see what comes.